enormous responsibility is on the shoulders of anyone who is lucky enough to be successful.
Perfection does not exist. There's a story behind every story.
I saw hope and possibility in life and love and meaning inside of the difficulties.
This is my story, and this is my life, and I can't hide it.
The shock of the impact of what you actually seen and smelled and touched, it stays with you.
Every single person can make a difference in the world, and every little thing counts.
I'm a guy who want to write his own story.
Rick Hansen is my childhood hero. He's tackled every challenge with perseverance and quiet humility. In 1985, Rick wheeled over 40,000 kilometers through 34 countries with a dream of creating an accessible and inclusive world for all those with disabilities. He left Canada virtually unknown and came back as a legend. And for all these years, he hasn't slowed down, making it his lifelong journey to prove that anything is possible. To know Rick Hansen's story is to understand what it means to be a shameless idealist.
You know, they say that character is largely formed in a young child in the first 6 years of life. If that's true, then I was well on my way, in motion, being poised to face any challenges in the future. My earliest memories were surrounded by family and off on amazing adventures with my father, grandfather, cousins, and uncles. You know, it was just a whole world filled with the outdoors, fishing, camping, being with family, and just playing and having just such a great time, filled and surrounded with love. By the time I was 15, I was a pretty good athlete and had wild dreams of maybe representing my country at the Olympic Games. You know, I was very involved in volleyball and basketball, and I was just like feeling like the whole world was in front of me. I wanted to go to university and become a phys ed teacher, be a coach. The sport had been such a powerful part of my life. The ultimate adventure at the age of 15 was after I finished grade 10, take my buddies and we could go off and do the ultimate fishing trip from Williams Lake to the Bella Coola Valley and catch all these massive salmon, and it would be, you know, an incredible paradise. It was one of those beautiful summer mornings. We decided we would hitchhike. We both put our thumbs out and we got a ride in the back of that truck. As I settled into the back, Don asked me to switch with him because he didn't like that side of the truck, and I said, sure, no problem, so I switched. And then, of course, everything now was set for that moment when he'd go around the corner and lose control and flip over, and I would be on the low side of the roll, and my friend Don was on the high side, and he was thrown clear, and I was thrown against a big steel toolbox. After I regained consciousness about 2 minutes after the accident, and I tried to move and wasn't happening, and I realized my legs weren't working. They were actually, when I touched them, they were numb, and they just wiggled like jelly. That was one of the most terrifying moments that I could ever imagine in my life. About an hour later, the ambulance came and took me to a hospital where the doctor x-rayed me and said that I'd broken my back, damaged my spinal cord, and I'd never walk again. It was pretty devastating. You're in a lot of pain and of course, filled with just overwhelmed with this sense of fear and that ominous sense that something very, very serious is wrong, like dramatic. It took at least a day or two before I was operated on, and it seems like an eternity. You're kind of thinking and hoping that once the operation happens, you'll start to get better again. But that wasn't the case. I was being confined to this little foster bed. It was about 18 inches wide and 6.5 feet long, hard as a diving board, and they would flip me every 3 hours face down and then strap a top piece of the bed on top and then pull the pins and then flip me face up, take the other piece off. And that was my world essentially for 2 months. Every single day, you just put all your energy towards recovery, towards movement, and nothing was happening. All of a sudden, you start thinking, oh my God, I'll never walk again.
In 1973, a devastating car accident changed Rick Hansen's life forever. In its aftermath, he struggled to accept that he might never walk again.
You know, there's moments in that hospital where, you know, you'd be laying back and just, like devastated. I mean, the lowest of possible moments, and I couldn't think of life being more desperate. As you scramble to grasp for something, hope mostly, I realized, you know, I hadn't been moving my arms, you know, for all that time, and they were getting incredibly weak. And so I asked the nurse if there was any way that someone could come and put something on the side of my bed so I could work my arms and maybe build some strength up so that I could focus on something. You know, once I got out of that hospital bed and into the wheelchair and started to regain my mobility, learning how to use the chair and push it and maneuver it and kick it up and do wheelies, and I started feeling like I was actually back in motion and there was some hope that was starting to kind of come into my life. I was thinking, okay, well, what's the next step? You know, it's getting out of this hospital bed and getting out of the hospital, and then what do I have to do? I'd heard about this rehab center, GF Strong Rehabilitation Center. Let's get there. Was moving into the next phase and stepping it up and really intensifying my strength and mobility and ability to transfer in and out of the wheelchair, and even learn how to stand up on braces that could hold my legs and my knee and my feet stable so I could actually balance on my legs. That first moment of standing up again between parallel bars was like so amazing. It was like phenomenal. And it was also the long journey to learn how to hop on crutches and braces so that I'd have some chance of going back home where life was filled with stairs into my high school and stairs almost everywhere in that small community of Williams Lake. Coming back to school after my injury was, you know, one of the big challenges that was waiting for me. Fortunately, my teacher and coach, Bob Redford, took a lot of time to get me back into the gym. He encouraged me to stay with my friends and with the sport and be part of the team, but do it differently, to be a mentor, to be an assistant coach. He made me realize that nowhere in the definition of an athlete does it say you have to use your legs in order to be one. And that moment in that conversation we had in his little office in the gym gave me that sense of, yeah, you know what? I can continue to be the athlete that I was. I met one of the most amazing role models. His name was Stan Strong, who was the team manager for the Vancouver Cable Cars. And he came up to my school and he said, come on over here. He had this big grin on his face, and he said, how would you like to come and play wheelchair basketball for the Vancouver Cable Cars wheelchair basketball team? And I went, wow, you know, it sounds cool. It was like, this guy's coming up to recruit me. There was this sort of sense of renewed challenge in my life to think, wow, I've got a big hill to climb. Maybe I can work hard and make this cable cars team. That'd be a huge step forward. And it was a fantastic moment. And of course, at the same time, you're also starting to think about what's life going to be like when you get out of high school and you leave Williams Lake. I realized that, you know what, I didn't need my legs to be a teacher or a coach. And as a matter of fact, I was quite good at it. And so I applied to the University of British Columbia to be accepted into the Faculty of Physical Education. I anxiously waited back for that letter, and when it came, I opened it up, and I'm very excited. And you know, I read that letter, and it said, I'm sorry, you know, we just can't accept you. And I was like, oh, I can't believe it. You know, like, you get to this moment and you think, wow, I'm like just about ready to take the biggest challenge of my life and go on to be, you know, phys ed teacher, and these people are shutting the door on me, and so Bob Redford talked to me and he goes, you can look at it two ways. You can look at that as a rejection and the door's closed, or you can read it again. And I read it again, and he said, well, we can't accept you at this time. We suggest you come down and take your first year arts and science, and we'd have to have a conversation and see where it goes. So he said, they're opening the door. That's not a rejection. That's a qualified, we're not ready yet, and maybe you need to convince us. And, he said, Rick, they've never done this before. You've got a challenge here, an opportunity to go and convince them that you're the right person. And that pivotal moment made me realize that I was going to accept the challenge and convince them that I was the guy to be the first person in a wheelchair to enter the faculty of phys ed. And if it wasn't for Bob, I'm sure I would have gone the other way, and who knows what might not have happened.
When Rick Hansen entered the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, the city not only brought with it a new sense of wonder, but connected Rick with perhaps his most inspiring teammate yet.
After I joined the Vancouver Cable Cars wheelchair basketball team, one of the things that Stan asked me to do was to go out and try to bring in new recruits. I had dinner with someone one night and we were chatting about the team, and they said, yeah, well, there's a friend of ours who just lost his leg to cancer and he used to play basketball. And I said, oh, well, what's his name? And they said, well, it's Terry Fox. I called him that night and I said, you don't know me, my name's Rick Hansen, and I heard maybe that you used to play ball and maybe you'd like to come out and play wheelchair basketball with our Cable Cars wheelchair basketball team. And he goes, yeah, that sounds great, I'd love to. We trained together, we traveled together, we roomed together, we became really good friends. I remember coming back from Seattle on a rainy evening, and Terry and I were driving home, and he sort of said, Rick, I've got this dream, and I want to run across the country on one leg, and I want to raise money for cancer. Do you think I can do it? I said, for sure you can do it. And of course, he not only did it, but his dream has unfolded throughout the entire world as a legend, as a person who inspires all of us. That life lesson, that inspiration from a friend, it helped me think about and shape what I could do. Athletics is a moment in time, and that window, continues to close. And when I realized that wheelchair track and marathoning was one of those great moments of opportunity for me to just give it. I reduced my athletic activities to just training for track and for the road. I needed to go for it 100% and focus. And it's amazing what happened when I did that. All of a sudden, I picked up an incredible amount of momentum in my performance and ended up within a year winning a gold medal at the Canadian Wheelchair Games. Excellence comes from focus, comes from commitment and really knowing that you've given it everything that you could.
Rick went on to win 3 World Championship marathons and 3 gold medals at the 1980 and 1984 Paralympics. By 1985, he was at the top of his game, but he was about to take it to a whole other level.
I'd seen these attitudinal and physical barriers that didn't have to be there. So I combined that deep-seated desire to make a difference with my talent as a wheelchair marathoner and put together an idea and a notion that would hopefully change the world, to wheel around the world in a wheelchair, to go through 34 countries and 4 continents, to wheel 40,000 kilometers, the circumference of the Earth at the equator and its equivalency. The biggest challenge for us was to start a team of people who would believe that it could be possible, that they could actually come and play a role in helping me to organize such a monumental challenge.
I even believe that one day the wheelchair will be something you'll see in a museum.
We realized, we needed to delay the tour from March 1st to maybe March 21st because we didn't have a motorhome. And we knew that we hadn't had all the money together to complete the journey, but if we didn't start now, that window, that moment in time was going to close, and There's just no way we would have been able to start, and it would have been one of those dreams. Would have, could have, should have, just maybe, what might have happened. And I didn't want to be in that position, and I knew we needed to start. Now, half the core group, they quit. They couldn't handle the ambiguity and the uncertainty and the risk. The other half strengthened and steeled our resolve and became an even tighter team. We moved forward and we took that first step on March the 21st. There were some difficult and devastating times, and it was an incredible challenge. But we took it one stroke at a time and one obstacle at a time.
Every time we reach an obstacle, we believe all our heart, somehow, some way, there's a way over it, under it, around it, or through it.
We generated $26 million, and of course, the awareness built. Individuals with disability who were feeling proud to be recognized for their ability for the first time.
Everyone has a hero, and he's mine.
In those moments, make you realize that you're making a difference, and it keeps you going. And ultimately, the dream and the reality actually were the same by the time we got home to Vancouver 2 years and 2 months and 2 days later. When I finished the journey, there was a sign behind me that said, "Welcome home, Rick," but above it, it said, "The end is just the beginning." I thought it was a pretty crazy slogan that said, "The end is just the beginning." I'd been on this incredible ultra marathon, and the tour was over. I was done. But I realized after thinking about it, they were right, because we just pushed the bar just a baby step forward on the ultra marathon of social change, and more work had to be done. And also my life had been changed dramatically by that experience. And that became a very profound moment in realizing that that slogan was absolutely right.
In 1987, Rick Hansen's Men in Motion World Tour had raised $26 million for spinal cord research. But even after that kind of success, Rick Hansen wasn't a man to rest on his laurels.
It became clear that we needed to continue to move forward and set the bar higher to help support a cure for spinal cord injury so that those that are newly injured would not have to go through that pain and suffering, and to have a full and productive life, and to help people with disabilities be accepted and included in society and be net contributors. Over 25 years, it's been phenomenal to be part of an amazing team of people, thousands of people from places all around the world who have stepped up to respond to that conversation that we had on the original tour. I think through every obstacle and challenge throughout my life, I've come to realize that there's always things that you can't control, things that happen to you, but there's something that you do have control over, and that's the sovereignty over your choices and your attitude and your perspective in life. And I just refused to give up that. I saw hope and possibility in life and love and meaning inside of the difficulty. At the end of the day, that's probably the most profound lesson that I've ever learned. And it took the loss of the use of my legs in order to find out the importance and one of the keys to the success in life.
And it's that message that Rick brought to We Day, an event that inspires young people to change the world.
I just want to say what an incredible honor it is for me to be able to be here with you celebrating We Day. What an amazing opportunity to be inspired, to share our stories, to get to know each other, and to strive to be the best we can be with what we have, to make a difference in the lives of others.
It's amazing to be able to actually connect to so many young hearts and minds, and to encourage them in their life, and to fulfill that mandate of being a teacher, but also to help build a global community of youth difference makers. And it's an amazing privilege.
Can you make a difference? Absolutely. Can we change the world? Absolutely.
often asked very insightful questions, and one question constantly comes up. It's, if you had a choice, would you go back to the accident, and would you decide to give up your life for the use of your legs? You know, and you think about that and you go, wow, all those years ago, I would have sold my soul for the use of my legs. And now, you know, looking back on it, I go, I'm one of the luckiest guys on the planet. I'd never trade my life for the use of my legs.
You inspire me, my friend. You inspire me. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for. All right.
It's about learning, giving love and receiving. It's about seeing adventure, passion in life, meaning and purpose, and being able to leave this world just a little better than when you've come. And you think about that and you go, well, my life is still unfolding today, and I can't wait to wake up in the morning and write a new chapter and see where it's going to go. What an incredible gift we have, this period of time, this life on this planet, and to waste it, give it up, just because we've faced challenges, doesn't make sense. Live it.